Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock on the hour, and we're so glad to see you all here today, early on a Saturday morning. Thank you for your dedication in being here, and just want to extend a warm welcome to all. As we begin our meeting today, we'd like to first call upon our President of the School Board of Trustees, Mr. John Massengale. If you'd like to say a few words, John.
Sure. You want me to come up here or just, I'm not used to being on this side, so.
I know you're
I'm like a duck out of water here. Actually, I'm more nervous on this side than I am that side. So I'm in the hot seat now, so I guess, right? So, no, I just want to, on behalf of the board, thank y'all for all y'all do. I know this is not your full-time job, but sometimes it seems like to be a full-time job. And so y'all do a tremendous amount of work, and the school district and the board are very thankful for what y'all do and the amount of money that y'all raise to help enhance children's education and the school district and everything. So we really do appreciate what y'all do. We really do. So hopefully we'll have another good year and raise some more funds so we can execute some more grants and keep that good stuff going. So really do thank y'all. Again, I can't say enough praise for y'all, what y'all do. Really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you on behalf of all of us and our advisors as well. Thank you for what you do for our district as well. Certainly, that is a full-time job. Okay, second on our list is Mr. Roland Toscano. He's not able to be here with us today, so we have the pleasure of hearing from Mr. Shane.
I just want to take a few minutes, and on behalf of East Central Independent School District, we just want to thank you guys for all of your hard work and your commitment. I can speak actually on 3 levels now. So the first level I can speak on is the teacher level. Me personally, as a teacher in East Central, I was able to benefit from 3 opportunities for grants from the foundation that actually helped to support and augment my science classroom. And actually, when I went by that classroom just this summer, they are still using some of the equipment that you helped us to purchase to help augment and enhance the learning environment. So I can just tell you on behalf of our teachers, we are incredibly grateful that you provide those grants for them to augment and enhance the learning environment for our students. That makes a huge impact. And then on behalf of the administration, being 14 years on the campus level and the last 8 as the high school principal, I can see the definite impact that you have on the learning environments of our students. Your support is definitely felt, and we are so grateful and humbled by you doing that for us. And then now on the level that I'm able to be at now, I'm able to see globally as an entire district how your hard work and your sweat equity and commitment that you put into EC, how it pays off in the long run in enhancing student achievement outcomes, morale, climate, culture, all the way down even how we provide scholarships to students when they leave us and move on. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of East Central. The second thing I just want to present on is the bond and give you a little information about that. But before I do that, I do want to say that last year during our United Way campaign, we raised over $16,000 that was able to given back to the East Central School Foundation. So we're excited about that and hope to continue that journey. That for us will start on September 30th and go through November 10th. So we're pressing hard on our campuses, and our campus champions are going to be pushing hard. And we also make sure that they're aware that one of those areas they can choose to provide money and resources to would be to the foundation. So we ensure that they have those as our point. So we're really excited about that. And of course, we're all in when it comes to getting ready for this year's fundraising events and gala. And you can see by our campus folks and our central office folks, and we've got several that are online that from campuses that couldn't be able to make it, that are excited to really do what we can to help support and augment. And I'm really excited to say that many of our PTAs have been highly engaged, more than I've ever seen before, and they're willing to put their name in to help as much as we can to sponsor. And we're all in it for the same reasons, and that's improving learning outcomes and supporting our district. So thank you for that. On the bond, I'm sure you're aware, you've been able maybe hopefully to get the School Bell Times, or if you've gone to the website, or if you've even now seen recently, I think we've been on 3 different newscasts, and we were on Express News. We are going out for a $240 million bond. Unfortunately, our last bond referendum did not pass, but we have really done some really deep diving as to why that is, and so we're being way more strategic in our communication strategies and our plans, and we're very excited and looking forward to the outcome. A few things that are just a few adjustments. besides the elementary to the north and the elementary to the south that are definitely needed. If you're not aware, Tradition is already at an overcapacity, so we've had to put portables in there, and their enrollment continues to grow. Harmony on the south end is where we would also have a second elementary put in. They are already at 23% enrollment growth from last year, and they're continuing to grow pretty much weekly as well. So we can definitely see the strong need and how that's happening. And then every campus across the district has experienced enrollment growth. So we're already above our enrollment trends from last year. So what the PASA group that did our demographic study has shown us that we are tracking exactly as if they said, and that's on the moderate path, and they're even leaning more towards the aggressive path. And the last thing we really discovered about that is that we're now labeled the fifth fastest growing district in the entire state of Texas. So we've got to really put some things out there strategically. One of the larger adjustments that we made though in this one is enhancements to safety upgrades. One of those being at the high school. We're working right now on some plans to harden the entries and specifically putting some perimeter fencing around the high school to create and limit access to the campus. So we're right now in the process of reviewing those strategies and the plan to do that, besides hardening the entry vestibule and creating the conditions that when visitors arrive, they have to enter into the office, not enter into the schoolhouse as if it is now. As well as the John Glenn Annex or the Cass Lead School would get a hardened entry, and the South Campus would get the same. We're also looking at Tradition, receiving that same hardened entry vestibule. Heritage and Legacy would also be a part. So we're really looking at some significant security upgrades as a part of this bond. It was not in the last bond. A few pieces were, but it's even more substantial in this next round moving forward. We're still leaning into the CTE building at the high school. We know we want to not only provide opportunities for academic readiness for our students, but career readiness, and two programs that are continuing to grow and we're running out of space and we're having to turn kids away is in our health science technology program, from our pharmacology to our registered dental assistant programs to our CMA, our certified medical assistants, and our CNA, certified nurses assistant licenses. We don't have enough space to be able to continue to teach those classes, or the teachers, so we're having to turn away. So this new building, when the bond passes, would provide them additional space, lab space, equitable opportunities there. And then on the other end of that is our construction trades. And we do have 3 shops. One of those, particularly our construction trade shop, is really small. We know that in our local market, the construction also including plumbing, HVAC, and not just understanding how to do a construction project is growing in our city. But the opportunities for kids to earn high in-demand opportunities when they graduate. So we're also working with the Texas Department on creating opportunities for kids to have not just internships, but apprenticeship programs. So this building would create those opportunities for them to be able to have that. We're also looking at making upgrades to Oakcrest and Highland Forest, including pre-K wings. We're looking as well as staging and stacking for vehicles. As you know, Sulphur Springs gets really backed up outside of Oakcrest in the mornings. It's pretty unbelievable. So this would create additional stack space, as well as the opportunities to have that additional wing for students. And then the same thing would happen over at Highland Forest. We would add another pre-K wing and additional stack space. In fact, one of the news outlets, they actually flew a drone over Highland Forest, and you can see the cars backed up all the way onto Military Drive and back across. So it's pretty remarkable what you were able to see when you were able to see that footage. And then as well as get those 2 campuses to be comparable with all of the other campuses that were touched in the 2016 bond. So we want to make sure that there's equity across the board. All the other elementary schools got substantial upgrades, renovations, additions, not just the lighting and HVAC, but the entry vestibules, their drive-throughs, things like that. So the attempt is to make the same level of outcomes for our other 2 campuses that weren't touched. And then last but not least is an additional middle school also on the north end. Right now, both Legacy, due to boundary changes, Legacy and Heritage are pretty leveled out as far as the numbers of enrollment, that we're already continuing to see the increased enrollment that's happening at Heritage. So we've got to relieve the pressure on both those middle schools. And we talk about trying to lower our class counts and making sure that students have better opportunities to learn. These additional buildings and facilities would provide us that opportunity. So again, on behalf of East Central, I would just like to say thank you so much for what you do, and thank you. We look forward to the rest of the meeting. Appreciate it.
Any questions for Mr. Mann?
Any questions? regarding the bond project, anything? I did mention we're really, as always, Ms. Burns, her team do an amazing job with finances, and there was another tax compression this past year, so we are still the lowest tax district in the entire Bexar County area, and the tax impact would be at max would be up to 6 cents, so it'd be 5 to 6 cents per 100,000. So you're looking at a $5 to $6 increase in taxes. Obviously, those that are 65 and older that qualify for the homestead exemption wouldn't see a tax increase. I know they have a hard time believing it because their home values continue to go up and they feel like they're paying more taxes back to the district, but not understanding how the formula works. As home values increase, state share back to the district decreases. So we essentially are getting the same monies for the same amount of services. The only thing that makes the difference is ADA impact that's there. So we wouldn't have a tax increase with them. And the other thing that I thought was really smart was the Bond Facilities Planning Committee felt as if it was best that those that are moving into our district share some of the burden of paying for the bond debt back. And so the first 2 years would not result in any tax increase at all, which would allow us to get more residents to live in the area to help spread that. So we're very optimistic that 6 cents would be a very high ceiling, and we probably wouldn't even get close to that, honestly. So, but unfortunately, we do have to put on there, this will result in a tax increase, and that's sometimes all our constituents in our community sometimes see. So we're trying to do our best to educate as much as we can. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. McKinney.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is to review our August 9th, 2022 meeting minutes. Thank you, Ms. Robin Massengale, for capturing the minutes for the meeting. Let's take a moment and then from the board will entertain a motion to approve, or if there are corrections, it can be so noted at this time. A motion to approve. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
We have a second. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes are approved as presented. Okay, our next area is reports on the agenda, and we're going to call on Ms. Shannon Burns to present our financials to us this morning. Thank you, Shannon.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, you have the financial statement for August. Our beginning balance is $386,442.80. We had revenue of $7,965.09. And that came from $7,328.74 for one of the quarterly distributions of our United Way donations. And then we had $606.35 from miscellaneous donations. And then our expenditures for the month were $89,956.26, and that was for the distribution of the mini grants to the district. So the district closed out all the expenditures for the year, and that came to $80,922.26. And then we paid out the distribution of last year's $6,000 to the Social Services Fund. So our ending balance is $304,451.63.
Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. If there are no questions, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is our August 22 donor contributions, which are also attached to our materials this morning. Give everybody a minute to look those over. Are there any questions about our donor contributions from August? Hearing none, this will be filed along with our financial report that was presented. Next item on our agenda is the 2022 Summer At-Risk Program, and we have Ms. Heather Burns to present to us today.
Good morning. So thank you on the behalf of Summer of ECISD. We had a super successful summer, so we have a few slides we'd like to share with you to kind of show you what happened this summer and the impact that your contribution had on our summer program. This year we had a steering committee which consisted of all the district coordinators across multiple departments, consisting of the bilingual department, CCMR, special ed department, assessment, so all the coordinators across the district. We had a common a mission and philosophy to provide equitable, comprehensive and engaging summer learning programs across all programs in Essential that we offer to our community. So we had mini camp offerings, and we could say that this was the largest program offering and enrollment that we've had thus far at Essential. So we not only had academic camps, but we also offered enrichment camps and of course our sports camps. But the foundation and the Dixie Stars directly supported these camps in many ways. And so we had an enrollment that was over 2,000 students. It was roughly around 2,300-ish students. So that was pretty amazing. All our camps were at capacity. And it was hard to tell parents when they kept calling to enroll, like, I'm sorry, we just can't accept anymore. So we're already in the planning phases for next summer and how can we accept more. We also had an overwhelming response for teachers that wanted to be involved this summer. We had way more people that applied than we had positions available, so that was pretty amazing as well. So you can see we served, and just our scholars, we served over 807 scholars pre-K through 12th grade. We had 94.1% attendance rate. We offered 46 different camp offerings. Of course, our athletic camps are very well attended, so over 1,000 athletes. But one of our biggest accomplishments with our the state requirement of House Bill 4545 is the students that are not successful in passing reading or math on the state accountability are required to get 30 hours of accelerated instruction, and we were able to get most of those students their 30 hours of instruction, so that was a great accomplishment. Your the foundation money that you provided us, we were able to offer 21 scholarships for credit recovery, and we awarded 139 half credits, so that was awesome. And the buses, which you helped pay for, and transportation and miles, our buses drove over 23,000 miles this summer, so that was amazing. And here are just some pictures of what y'all actually helped us be able to provide. Excursions to the McNay. Our middle school students went to the snake farm. You provided our staff and our campers with shirts and supplies and materials such as the art camp, for enrichment, all the supplies and so forth. So we thank you. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to sharing your successes for next year. So thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great work, thank you so much. That's good news to get to see the activity of the summer. We have another report. Our PAC volunteerism report will be presented by our very own Robin Troggett.
Hello, y'all. Happy Saturday morning. So, Mr. McKay did a very eloquent job of explaining the bond, which I'm sure that you're all more than familiar with. So we are the next stage of that. Last year, as you know, we fell short of the finish line. And we had some signs and we had a handful of t-shirts, but really we had faith, right? We had faith that people understood and knew the need for the bond. And unfortunately, kind of at the 11th hour, some folks that we found out we didn't maybe do as good of a job educating as we could have. And so some other folks maybe took advantage of that and did some education of their own. That wasn't maybe, the full story. So we are charged this year with making sure the full story gets out there early. So I'm the president of the Political Action Committee. Mr. Toscano and Mr. McKay are already making rounds and talking about the importance of the bond, talking about the specifics of the bond. But one thing they can't do is they can't bring the passion. They can't say, this is why you need to vote yes. I was a yes for the bond last year and I stopped. I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And it wasn't enough. So this year we have to do more. We've already met with all the PTA presidents. Amanda's one of them in the room. And, I've been on PTA in East Central for 21 years. And I've put on a lot of teacher breakfasts and I've done a lot of fun things for the kids. But this is the first time that I've really felt like we have a call for action. This is what we're about. And so we met with the other PTA presidents and we said, this is it for the next 2 months. This is our mission. With the booster presidents, again, the next 2 months, this is our mission. So we are hopefully trailing behind the educators and saying yes, because if you choose not to vote, or if you vote no, this is what you're voting for. A no vote is definitely a vote for something, and it's not good for the future of our district. So I'm excited to be a part of that story. I know last year we're still going to have yard signs because, those work. Last year we did have a lot of those disappear or maybe be defaced. So we are starting early with t-shirts and we put our bullet points on the back because somebody can take down a sign, but they're going to have to tackle me in HEB to not see those bullet points. So I have a shirt for each of you for afterwards, and I would love it if you would represent. And then, we are just really right now, our call for action is a couple things. We have 945 voters that, as Mr. McKay talked about, that are over 65 and qualify for a homestead exemption, but they don't quite believe it, just because it can be confusing. So we have been calling each and every one of those over the past couple weeks. I know that some of you have also been helping with that effort, just to help them understand that what it says at the ballot and what they see on their tax, even though it may seem incongruent, it really is a frozen tax rate. So we're doing that. We're going to start putting out door hangers and block walking, things like that. We've got over 20,000 voters in the district. We can't make those calls. So we are hiring a service to do that. Because we don't want robocalls. We want somebody who's going to be able to answer questions, who's going to be able to bring the passion, right, during those conversations. And that's got a hefty price tag. It's about $25,000 for the service to make up to 3 calls to all 20,000 voters. So currently we're raising funds to do that, and we've got a good chunk of that going on. So I'm very happy to report we already have funds raised. But certainly I want to implore and ask you, if you have donors that have donated to the foundation for the gala that you think might want to donate, feel free to give them my name and number or vice versa. But if you want to have a part in any of the story, we would love to have you and anybody else. And like I said, we've got t-shirts for you. And I think that's everything. I mean, there's so much more I could say, but I want to be observant of your time. Any questions?
That's great, Robin. I love your energy and your passion about this important issue. What amount are you still lacking that you need to raise for the necessary resources?
Yeah, so the $25,000 is our most important, Mary Beth, because that is where we need to start. And then signs are going to be about $5,000, and then you got door hangers another. So our actual budget is $65,000, but some of that is wish. Like if I have to look at bare bones, what I really need is right around 45 to 50 to make it happen. And right now we're at 17,500 that has been committed. So we still have a ways to go, but we're doing good. And already we've raised more than last year. So, I mean, we are at a win, and we just want to keep the momentum going and keep raising those funds. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
All right.
And Robin,
Yeah.
you would be the point of contact.
Absolutely.
To get any of those donors.
Yeah. And we've got like a team. I mean, the PAC has like 40 or 50 members, and they're out there making calls and asking for donations. because I can't do it alone, right? And then I'm like, for those 40 people, bring a couple of your friends, and then let's multiply. Now we've got 120. So if I won't necessarily be the person doing it, but I can delegate to the people who can.
Perfect. And you're selling the t-shirts?
Oh yes, and if you don't, if you're like, oh, not really Black Walker, don't really want to, ask for funds, then we'll take a donation of $10 for the t-shirt. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Robin.
welcome.
That's exciting and much needed, as we know, much needed. Okay, moving on to action items, we do have a quorum today that has been established, and our first order of business under action items is to look at the fund designation availability. And I'm going to call again on Shannon Burns, if you don't mind, to join us at the podium as we walk through this together. This requires a motion, second, and a vote from the board members.
Okay, all right, so if everybody grabbed one of these sheets on the table, this is the one that we're gonna be looking at. So typically the foundation has a few sources that they can use to make designations for award. From the Foundation Gala 2022, the ending account balance is $110,084. And then the United Way account balance is $19,813.15 for a total of $129,813.99. That is available to be awarded. Down at the bottom are the areas that you typically make designations for award. Currently, our social services fund is at zero because the entire $6,000 designated last year was spent. So there would be perhaps a proposal for another $6,000 for next year. With mini grants, the account balance is $18,577.74. We received a direct donation designated specifically for the mini grants from Dixie Starnes, and so we had that over the year. And then we had about 9,000 or so that was unspent from last year's mini grant designation. So with that beginning account balance, if you were to award $113,813.99, the ending balance would be $132,391.73. And then of course, we always carve out $10,000 of our gala to go as seed money for the next year, or we do, I should say. I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions about the proposed spending plan for this year? No? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept as presented?
I move to accept.
Lori?
I'll second.
Second, Gretchen, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved as presented. Thank you, Shannon, for presenting that.
Thank you.
Mary Beth, when do we normally give out those mini grants?
The mini grant distributions generally happen throughout the year, I believe, correct?
So the mini grants are awarded to the district, and then Judy builds those into the district budget, and then each one of those teachers spends their money throughout the year. And so at the very end, when we know exactly the dollar amount that's spent, then we go ahead and we distribute those funds back to the district.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the explanation. Our next order of business is to review the vacancies and changes on the board of directors. Board members that of the foundation are 7 in number, and that's the group that's gathered here in front. We do have one person who has dedicated so much of their life to supporting East Central ISD, who is going to continue to support the school district and the foundation, but has indicated that they'd like to become an advisor versus a board member. And I can't say enough nice things about this dear lady and all that she's brought to our district and all that she's brought to the foundation. Please join me in thanking Ms. Gloria Lamascus. But she's not going anywhere. She's an advisor. we will bring her up in a moment as an advisor. So, thank you again, Gloria, for all your service to the district and the foundation. So, we now move on to, we're gonna realign these just a little bit. And let's jump down to new advisor positions. We have one nomination that has come to us from the August meeting, and that is Ms. Gloria Vasquez. We also have another nomination that came also to us and we discussed at our August meeting, and that was for Robin Trockett. And let's see, I'm gonna open it up to the board. What other nominations do we have for advisors? I believe we had another. Yes. There are additional names that also have been very helpful in our activities of this last year and bring a different sphere to the foundation. And as advisors, we have nominations for Brandon Stride, who is an attorney, Pam Strelzik, who is very, very helpful with our gala and helping us this last year, alumni of the district, and Donna Solarzik, also alumni of the district. And I'm gonna look to my Padres up here because I think I'm missing one or two. Those are the ones I remember. So at this time, we'll take nominations from the board for advisors. So obviously the ones we've mentioned, we have on the docket for our vote today. And then what happens with the foundation, the way in which it works is that as a organization, the foundation board will be able to vote on the nomination. The nomination goes through to the board of trustees and is ratified at that meeting. So are there any other nominations for advisors beyond the ones that have been mentioned? Okay. Well, we have a good crew coming in, and Robin, I see you here, and you're willing to serve.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, wonderful, wonderful. So let's go ahead, if there are no other nominations for advisors, we'll ask the board to, this comes as a motion, so we need a second to the motion, and then we'll need to vote. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Gretchen is a second. Okay, all those in favor of accepting the advisors as previously presented, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Welcome aboard. So next area of consideration is, we're gonna jump to the next page, consideration of recommendation for renewal terms. And I believe you all received a copy of this chart that indicates the board of directors, and we have term limits on there, so I'll go ahead and announce those who are not currently, who are finishing out their year in 2022. Each of them has indicated an interest and a willingness to continue to serve. So we'll start from the bottom of the list. In Shannon Albert, they're in no particular order. Carlos Constantino, Robin Massengale, Mary Beth Fisk. So is there any discussion? Okay, it comes as a motion from the board previously. Do we have a second? We have a second from Annette Alonso. All those in favor?
Right.
All opposed? Okay, these folks are renewed. But I'm sorry, there was one additional one that I missed on here, and that is Annette Alonso, also for renewal.
She shouldn't second.
Right.
Yeah, so she shouldn't second.
So will you, Gretchen will second it, okay, and so we add Annette Alonso. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Sorry for the confusion. So next thing we move to is back to the first page, and that is calling for consideration and nominations of officers for the 2022-23 school year. We, on the same page, you'll see there has been some interest in the positions that are available for election. And one important note to make is that our bylaws were reviewed, and we'll talk a little bit more about the bylaws shortly. The bylaws were reviewed, and in the bylaws, it called for a separate secretary and then a treasurer as two different offices. In addition to that, it called for a vice secretary, a first secretary, in the event that the secretary is not present for a meeting to capture our meeting minutes. So that was the review of bylaws, and that's what we learned from that.
Yeah, those are options.
Their options. And so, at this point, I'd like to open it up for discussion about opening those positions and filling those positions with our directors. So I'd like to just open the floor and hear from our fellow board members and hear from you. I think one of the important things is secretary treasurer carries a lot of responsibility. Not only are you taking the notes for every meeting and having to get those generated in a timely way, but then the treasurer's responsibility in assisting in signing off the checks, that's another big responsibility as well. So in our prior conversations, I think we discussed that would make a whole lot of sense to split those responsibilities into two different offices. And then, of course, the first secretary would be the one that would stand in for the secretary if they were not available. Any questions about that? Okay. So we do have nominations for, nominations for offices. We're asking for nominations. We do have some nominations that have been previously presented. In treasurer, we have Robin Massingale, who has served as the secretary treasurer for the foundation for the last few years. We have nomination for secretary of Shannon Albert. We have second vice president nomination of Annette Alonso. Also, the vice president, first vice president position, Joe Ritterhouse, President Mary Beth Fisk. That leaves us with also one vice secretary, first secretary. That's the backup to the secretary position that does need to be filled. And we will at this time take nominations from the floor.
Mary Beth, I'll nominate Gretchen Stuckey.
For the first secretary. Right. Are there any other nominations from the floor or from the board? Okay. So I'll read this list one more time. We'll ask for a vote at the conclusion. So President Mary Beth Fisk, Vice President Joe Ritterhouse, Second Vice President Annette Alonso, Secretary Shannon Albert, First Vice Secretary Gretchen Stepke, Treasurer Robin Massingale. And at this time, this has already become forward to us as a motion, so we'll move to the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The elections for our officers for the 2022-23 session have now been approved. A lot of things to cover today.
So Mary Beth, that means we need to fill 2 director spots.
Yes. So that's the next order of business.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, you're right on it, Carlos. We're gonna be mindful of your time, folks. So the consideration of new directors for the foundation board. We grateful for Gloria's tenure with the organization, but we do need to locate someone who'd be willing to step up to that role. Do we hear any nominations?
I believe Maureen Reed, but she had one more question about that. Can district employees serve?
That's a good question. I'm gonna turn to Mr. McKay and Judy. to see if they can enlighten us on that. We do have advisors who are district employees, and that's been a given for many years. The question is, can a district employee serve in a foundation board position? And that really comes from the district side.
Yeah, and, I mean, I don't know what you have to say about that, Ms. Burns, but as an advisor, I would say it would be, but as an actual voting member on the board, I think it creates a lot of blurry lines. We have to be really cautious and careful about that.
I agree with you. I don't think we need to be very transparent.
Yeah.
And I think when we have an employee as a director or advisor, we're not as transparent as we should be. So, I would say definitely for director, that would not be a good thing for an employee.
It's a good question.
It is, thank you for the clarification, for sure. So we do have a director position open. Unfortunately, the other person that we contacted and asked if they could serve is not eligible. Oh, we have two.
Sorry, that was from, was it Waste Management, Catherine's, had given us some information about a lady who was interested in participating and helping,
Republic Services,
yeah, it was either Republic or Waste Management,
all
but,
of her emails are coming back. She was very interested in the gala in serving.
yes.
Her emails are all undeliverable, so I don't know if her capacity has changed, if she's still with that organization or,
You could check with Catherine. Catherine would probably have that information.
We've longstanding had a member of the board
Yeah.
from Public Services. And because they are a large business in our district, that makes sense to include them for sure.
Yeah.
So,
And
at
they were
this,
good supporters of everything that we've done.
so we have to present this at the next school board meeting. If we don't have any nominations at this point in time,
you have to table that.
We can-
present it, right?
Yeah.
we can table that and come back to it. So if you do know of anybody that has an interest in serving as a director, to all those who are online, in the room today with us and up on the panel, please let me know. And we will take that up at our next meeting. But we really appreciate the willingness to serve, so thank you, everybody that's stepping up for that. So the next order of business,
Mary Beth,
yes,
Pam Strelsick has stated she's on the line that she would serve as a director.
oh, we have a
Step up
nomination.
from the advisory committee to a director position.
Excellent. So we do have a nomination for one of our two open board positions. It is Pam Strelsick. She is an alumni of East Central and was very instrumental in helping us in preparation for our special events in the last few years. So I'll open that up to the board for comment. We'll need a motion and a second, and then we'll vote.
No comment, but I will make a motion.
Thank you. Shannon Ballard made the motion.
I'll second.
Lori Lamaskis that made a second. All those in favor of Pam Strelsick becoming a director at the East Central Foundation on the East Central Foundation Board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Pam, who's online with us.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business is to look at our meeting schedule. You'll have in your agenda, you'll notice the 2022-23 school year meeting dates, proposed dates for the East Central School Foundation Board. And I'll just give you a moment to go down those, and then we will need to approve the list of meeting dates so that folks can post those to their calendars in advance.
Mary Beth, if I'll just a brief answer. We voted to move our meetings to 5 o'clock on Tuesdays to get them off of church activities on Wednesdays. The two edits for the August meeting, we're moving the November meeting off of November 8th to 9th because that's election day. And then off of February 14th to, I see Gretchen smiling, to the 15th. So those are the only two edits off of a Tuesday discussion that we had a couple of months ago.
Thank you for putting that together, Madam Chair. All in favor of the meeting schedule as presented for 2022-23, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That's great to have all those dates up front. The next item on our agenda is to review the Central School Foundation bylaws. At our August meeting, we had a volunteer to chair that effort. It is time to look at those bylaws and update them accordingly with a group, and Ms. Annette Alonso has volunteered to chair the bylaws review committee.
We're gonna start meeting after this meeting. To review this.
Okay, great.
Oh, if there's any volunteers, we'll take those volunteers.
If you can't hear that, she said if there's any volunteers that want to help with, we're going through the bylaws, she's welcoming you wholeheartedly.
Feel free to call me, text me. We will start meeting. Brendan, we had asked Brendan to try, so I believe he's going to be available, which he'll be a big help, being an attorney.
Great.
To review this and get this amended.
That's why they're looking at me.
I'm looking at Shannon. I think Shannon wants to volunteer.
I would love to help you. That's great. That's great. Oh, wonderful. So there's motion, and we're grateful for that service, Annette, and your team that's going to be working with you. One of the, under the action items, we do have 2022-23 fundraising efforts, and we have some exciting ideas, and I'm going to turn that to Carlos to talk about.
So I believe in our last foundation meeting, we threw out a couple of ideas. There was maybe a golf tournament, we talked about a casino night, we talked about the golf facility, I can't remember what it's called, Top Golf. And I think the consensus was at that time was to do something that would be easy and that we could get the whole community involved. And that's been an advocate of all of us to try and make sure we get the whole community involved and all of the schools involved. And so we talked about a possible golf drop. We have a helicopter that comes up, and then they drop golf balls. You purchase a golf ball, and then you have a number on it, and then they drop the golf balls. Then somebody in the media, I don't remember who it was, talked about a rubber ducky drop, which I think was awesome. The only problem with that is that when you're dropping rubber duckies from a helicopter, with all of the wind, they'll probably go and scatter. So that's the reason why they drop golf balls, because they're heavier. So I thought about this a little bit more, and I said, well, let's do and that has cost involved, probably around $1,000 total. And so I thought about, okay, let's try and maybe see if we can keep some of that cost back within the district. And we talked about just a ducky drop that would be part of possibly maybe on the top of the stadium, and that would then, we would get the community involved with being able to sell duckies. They'd be able to do their arts and crafts on it within each of the campus. We could also promote it. Maybe we have some large banners on the top of the stadium that have arrows that say ducky drop coming December the 1st. And so I think we've kind of met in the middle, being able to keep some of that cost within the district, with not having to do the helicopter, and maybe we look at a ducky drop within one of the facilities here. We can promote it, we can control the weather in relation to the time frame that happens, we can get the community involved, each of the schools. If it becomes successful the first year, maybe it becomes a competition within the campus as a ducky drop, where they decorate, they try and sell. I think there's opportunities. And so I would just like to maybe see if we want to pursue that. If that's something that the board would like to do. I think the other efforts, I think we're all kind of in a state where we're all busy. We have, the priority right now is obviously the bond as well. And so having to do all the other things that would take more time, like a golf tournament or casino night, I think was just something that I think we could look at possibly in 2023. But I think to be able to get the community involved, I think would be a really fun event. It may be even right before a football game. We could also have we talked about some food trucks that were out there maybe at the stadium. So I think there's other opportunities, a lot more opportunities for the community. So that was, I think, where at least I landed, and I wanted to share it with the board and also with y'all to see what y'all thought. Yeah.
This would be in addition to the gala.
Yes.
So this would be a fall event?
Correct. Yes.
Thoughts, everybody?
I like
I
that.
like that too. I like it.
That's a fun truck idea as well, just to get more people
Right.
involved.
We'd have to maybe look at the football, Scott, I don't know, how long do they play into maybe December, January, if they make the playoffs, January probably? When's the last day of football?
Playoffs will go into November, so typically
Oh,
the end of
November.
the season, the regular season ends the first week of November. and
Okay.
You launch in, so the second round of playoffs is typically right before, or during the week of Thanksgiving, so that kind of gives you time.
So really what would be involved is we would have some sort of advertisement, we'd have a pamphlet, social media, purchase the duckies, get our ducks in a row, of how we're doing all of that, I like that. We could have duckies that were at each of the campus with a spreadsheet, they sell the duckies somehow. I mean, we'd have to, which I think we can start doing. Time's gonna catch up with us here, so we just need to think about that a little bit. So I wanted to start putting a little bit more information together, and maybe that would be something that we could quickly review maybe in our next,
And when is homecoming? 'Cause we
It's
wanna-
this week
Okay.
coming up,
Oh,
We
so.
wanna stay away from homecoming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say, homecoming is a very heavily attended event. A lot of people will be there, so if there was a table that was set up that was selling rubber duckies.
Oh,
as
like
a-
already?
You could potentially,
Yeah.
like, as people are entering in the stadium, you know, and it's just an idea, it's a thought. Consider that that's a huge, but our home games, if we're not able to turn around in such a short fashion, the following home game, I think, is 2 weeks outside of that, so.
I
so
think
you have
it
a little
can
bit of time.
I'm sorry, Shane. I think it could still be an event. Maybe it doesn't have to be involved with a football game, as long as we promote it. I mean, I've seen, like, Somerset just did their golf ball drop. It was like on a Tuesday at like 3 o'clock. I mean, it wasn't, I think it's part of the fundraising. We'd like to get everybody there to kind of experience it. So, but I don't think it has to, if we run out of time here on a football game, we'll just have to
What about
schedule it.
basketball game?
Or, I mean, I think.
Basketball season usually starts after that, so,
Right.
I mean, you could do it up at that time.
Sure, so I think we just need to look at the dates and see. I don't think it'd be difficult to get it started. I mean, we can just purchase duckies and get things put together, but I don't know if we're gonna get to a time on basketball and football.
But I think Shane has a great idea. Even if the event doesn't occur at a football game, the football game is a great venue to bring in awareness. And I think, Amanda, you had mentioned that there's just so many people that have a lack of awareness for the East Central Foundation. It's a great opportunity to get out in front of parents and students and just really talk about what the foundation does.
Yeah, that would be
Garner some
educational.
support there.
Yes, ma'am.
And just being a part of that committee, it was exciting to know that parents, families, community members would have opportunity to possibly watch it virtually
Oh, yeah.
as it's dropping. We talked a little bit about that as well. So if we're at home in our comforts of our home, how would we still be able to watch if I can't physically come out?
Just
So just thinking about that social media part.
Looking back, I like it, partner.
Yes, just I mean, and we were thinking about like as you said, the different campuses and decorating it however we can, and raising that money per campus, and all the kiddos being able
Right.
to watch that virtually, and their little ducky being dropped. I mean, and selling it at the game at homecoming. So yes, just however we can communicate
Yeah,
that.
I think part of it is, I think a lot of it is to do with just the engagement, like having something fun to do. And even within like social media, each of the campuses could, again, promote that, hey, can they take pictures? I think it's a possibility. And I think at the end of the day, yeah, we want to raise some money, but we also want to just be able to have just a fun event where kiddos and the family can kind of just have fun. Get Saturday night, they get it, in front of the kitchen table, and everybody starts decorating duckies. I don't know. It's something that yes, ma'am.
Don't we usually have, I know we used to do years prior, like during like the winter time, like have Santa come like a market day?
Yeah, so there's the Pancakes with Santa.
Yeah.
So that's a great
That's a good
event.
one.
And that's in December. The only challenge we've had the last 2 years we've tried to do it is the weather has not been very cooperative with us. So That's the only thing maybe we have to consider, because with helicopters, we've got to try to find them.
No.
When the weather would be
Right.
a little bit.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think we're
No.
gonna, I'm sorry, Jim. I don't think we would do the helicopter deal. I think we keep that, I mean, whatever money we can keep within the foundation and community.
Got it.
I think we can do, and this is an idea, maybe in front of the stadium, like on top of the last riser of the stadium.
Uh-huh.
Like we could literally promote right now in the next 3 or 4 weeks, have signage. We'd start promoting ducky drop here, stay tuned or something like that. Maybe there's areas where someone would go up on top of the stadium, we could create sort of a target at the bottom, and then we could drop them from the top of the
Got
stadium.
it, yeah.
And then we could control a little bit of the weather. So if something happened, we knew something's coming, we could say, okay, ducky drop has been postponed till 2 weeks, and we could promote that as well. So, you know, that would be, so I think we would just nix the whole helicopter deal.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to get something like that. It's, yeah, do it that way.
I mean, we could
You
probably,
pretty much do it anytime then, I mean, other than when
Right.
it's raining.
right,
Or really high winds.
Right.
Like say, they drop the dust. They all go to the soccer fields behind them. Have
For Halloween.
So you're gonna physically, when people buy a ducky, you're gonna physically give them a little ducky so they can decorate and all that, so how soon do we think we can get
All the duckies.
that
I
many
can-
duckies here?
I've already done research on the duckies.
Oh, wow.
And we'll look into it. Yeah, I think it's like, like $15 for, I think, 100. I mean, it's pretty cheap. So and that's great that you thought, because I was thinking about that. My mind is always going in different directions. Driving over here, I was like, okay, how can we do this? Can we do this? So I would promote, we would provide a spreadsheet with we would all have a ducky party, a numbering ducky party. And so we would have to, everybody would have to number the duckies prior to. We give between 1 and 50 ducks, we give them to Sinclair. And then y'all sell those, part of the spreadsheet, you sell them for $20, then you write the name down, you get the money into that. And it's also, part of the problem is control. How do you organize all that? I mean, you've seen that before. Half the battle is organizing. And so we would be able to do that. So we could give each campus 50 duckies, and then y'all would be responsible for either, we would do it through a website, or I guess maybe you could do cash, I'm not sure. But that was just something we would talk about. I could have the duckies ready to go in a week.
Well, it's funny, I mean, if you're talking about a fall project,
Yes, ma'am.
fall's gonna get away from us very quickly. And so
Right.
I definitely suggest getting with the PTA cadre, which is our district PTAs with all the presidents. And so if you get with us on that, we can give us the duckies, we'll number them within, we'll keep spreadsheets of who got what ducky, and we can get that done pretty quickly, especially if we're gonna try to start advertising at football games. Like you said, November 4th is the last home game, so if we wanna get that advertising going, just let us know, and I can get with other PTA presidents so that we can get that going and start selling at our campus.
Do you think it's I'm thinking like administrative nightmare if we say, here, go decorate it and try to get it back? Would we be better served to just get a color representative of each campus?
Every campus has. a
And then that way, they get to see a cute picture of it. But I'm just wondering, because I don't want to create
Yeah.
extra work.
So I think the only way you can do that is if you have it advertised that our ducky drop is gonna be November 2nd, let's just throw it down there, ducky drop's gonna be on November 2nd, so we sell, all before that time, so they would have to come to the event, or if we did it at the football game November 4th, that, hey, we've got a big huge box of all the duckies, so as you come into the football game, drop them here, and then, like, depending on who's gonna do the actual dropping of the ducks, are we gonna have just a select group of people that are just gonna dump them over wherever, or are you gonna allow all those people to be dropped? Like, so if that's gonna be the case, I think you would have to probably tie it to a specific event where you say, here's the big box, everybody who decorated and bought it, bring them here. If you don't make it and you don't drop them, well then, I mean, that's a donation to it.
Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking again.
Robin has a.
Go ahead, sorry, Robin. Yes.
So Carlos, I'm thinking going back to Annette's logistics, because, we bought one of those bags of 100 ducks for $15 off Amazon, and we have ducks in every room of our house now, because it's a thing. You're also gonna run the risk of people bringing their own ducks, like,
Yes.
I'm gonna put number 5. So it may be better to sell the number and keep the ducks,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
not do the decorating ducks. I know but just because I love the idea of decorating, but logistically, and because it is a short time frame, I say you sell the numbers and we just hold on to the ducks.
Yeah, like you're number 5, and that way you
Right,
don't
you're the only
come
one
up
five,
with.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
that actually makes more
Are gonna be
sense.
taking the ducks out of
Like
their
a
feet
ticket.
and dropping
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
And then
add-
maybe they get a ticket with the number, and maybe we can put a cute duck on it with that number on it, and then they know they're number 5.
Yes.
Then maybe you have the
It's out on
decoration,
Amazon.
Yeah.
maybe the decorated post.
Right.
So,
I mean, it would be fun if we could tie it in even to Halloween and you could, you know, put your duck in a costume kind of thing, you know,
You
but.
could maybe, if possible, like maybe help look into this, but if you could get a larger rubber duck and give it to all the campuses, and then you could maybe do some sort of campus
Oh,
competition.
decoration.
The campuses could be in charge of decorating this larger rubber
Yes.
ducky as part of the
As part of it.
Love it.
Campuses love to compete against each other.
Exactly.
Decorate it for the bond,
Ah, there you go.
advertise the bond as well.
So the only,
how much, thinking about the drop, and what soul is gonna be asked to climb on top of those not so new press boxes of ours?
Right
Shane will do it.
Right there.
Shane will do it?
Shane will do it.
I think that's a good task for our superintendent. I like that.
Well, we
You
did
said that, but then you said.
He's not here, if he has to be around rocking in for those trainings.
Yeah.
He's not here, so we
Yeah.
should.
Don't you get to volunteer?
No, I was wondering, because I don't know, I'm on the north end of my 50s, so I don't know these things, but how much weight can a drone carry? I
Yeah,
mean, could you just go out and drop, you know?
well, let's say you sell 500 ducks.
Is there a drone
I
strong
don't
enough
know,
to
that'd
carry
be a
500 ducks?
specialized drone that could carry even
Yeah.
a rubber duck.
That'd be
Probably have to have a license.
And now, so the only thing is your target, just considering your logistics here. So I like the idea, so some feedback maybe is, like the idea that, look, our goal is we wanna sell 500 ducks. And each duck is $20. We're gonna have a duck numbering party, right? And each campus is allotted a sign-in sheet, sell as many ducks as you can. High school, you get 1 through 20, so you get 21 through, you know, whatever, you go all the way down to each campus. When they sell them, you can do that. Anybody else, PTA wants to have a list of ducks and the numbers, they can sign up for what number of duck they want inside of there. They're already gonna be there, just thinking out loud, the target. What are you considering for the target?
Well, I mean, Amazon is great. Let's see if we can Google targets of Amazon. So I'm thinking either we could, it would be, I think, asphalt, because it's on the bottom.
Yep.
We could either spray paint with a water base, we could do spray paint with a target, with a water based paint.
What if you just put a bucket with water in it and the duck that lands in the bucket of water, so
Look at
it's
this
easy.
I
guy.
think there are multiple buckets that were
You get
smaller,
multiple buckets, and one
and
bucket's,
which ones are
one
falling
bucket's
in?
500 and it's a smaller bucket, one bucket is 200 and it's a little bit bigger, one bucket's $100 and it's a little bit bigger.
What happens if like 20 get into the 500?
Well, when I'm talking, like the $500 bucket's this big.
Oh, I see.
The $100 bucket's this big. The odds are gonna be pretty slim.
All right.
I like the bucket.
Then
And
Carlos
you
runs
put
the
water in
test.
it, and you gotta worry about wind blowing that way.
LPA writes a bigger check.
Yeah, because that's true, Mr. Nussbaum brought up a good point, depending on how much water you, there's a duck that can hit the water and actually splash out and not land
Right.
straight in it.
So I mean, they can bounce.
Or we could do where you have to go up maybe multiple times. We could have whatever lands in the buckets, we put them together and we do another drop and then you have to go up.
Yeah, but what if they don't hit the target that time, they don't get nothing?
I think I'm gonna look into the duckies. I think I'm gonna start ordering the duckies.
I would say don't put water in the buckets.
Yeah.
Won't bounce.
So we just determine the size of the buckets.
Yeah, galvanized
Suggestion.
buckets or something.
All right.
And if you, because I think this, now you can turn and burn quick and you give each campus a goal, your goal is to sell 20 ducks, right, by this date, and then on this game, or before this game, we're gonna drop, or even if we choose not to do it on a game, we're gonna do it on a Wednesday night, I like the idea of, you know, we've got cameras and we got everything that can broadcast it live. The drop, you can have a camera up the top that's facing, and a camera on the ground that's facing, and just have fun with it, and y'all can have a guest come out, pull up the duckies that are there, and call the numbers, and go to your sheet and announce the winners on social media.
And even if there are multiple, if you had to at that point, put those numbers in a hat and draw one out, or I'm sure someone
You
would
can
be
always do
generous enough to
Tickets for a
write a
bucket,
check. I would.
bucket draw, then after that.
Oh, yeah, we could do,
Whoever got
we
the,
could
this
get
one
cards
gets
or
so many
something.
tickets and they can.
Okay, I wanna make sure that we do this. So I don't think I can find, how many campuses are there, like 12? So I can't find 12 different colors, I don't think that, so we're just still gonna do the yellow duckies. Still, all yellow duckies?
There are 12 different colors?
No, I don't think there are.
I know you can get quite a few. colors, we'll have to look into.
Let me research it. Let me research it. If I can get different colors for each campus, then I will do my best. I'll do research on that. If I can, I'll come back to y'all and let y'all know. And then if it's just yellow, I will order the duckies and then a large ducky hopefully. And y'all can, that way maybe part of the social media.
So how many campuses, Shane,
Yeah, how
plus
many are there?
administration, central office, how many campuses would need the larger duck?
Let's see, what's 11, right? 11 campuses. 11, and then if you did central office as one, which I think that's great for the curriculum department, they'd be all
I
over.
mean, would one be
Color
the police
and so-
department, would one be the bus garage, I mean, what are the departments?
What if you just did child, I mean, I'm just thinking, what if you did SCE, business operations, curriculum, so you just kind of break it down that way, so 5. So it'd be, 3 or 5, 3, it'd be 3.
15?
15?
15.
Is that 15 ducks?
Okay. I would like to also see if we can get maybe help with designing maybe some,
Yeah. Can you tell us what the big ducks are gonna do? What are we doing?
we're gonna do individual, since we're not gonna decorate the small duckies,
Decorate the big
we're gonna
ducks.
give each campus a big duck that they can decorate theirs, and then that'll be part of the advertising business social media.
So to maybe go to the same football game, maybe the idea is, thought is you could have a table set up that the ducks are there, and kind of like when you go to some of the events in Fiesta, people can drop a vote in which duck to vote for, and the winner of those votes would be an idea. So yeah.
All right, a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you want Carlos, the committee to work with you and if he's interested in volunteering it?
Sure, I mean, that's, yeah. I'll go and still glad to look into the duckies themselves. I think, I was going back, I think we can look into doing maybe a banner. We could hang up, and we could start advertising maybe on the stadium. Would that be something, Shane, we can look at? Okay.
Yeah, and I think we set a goal date that it's gonna be the last home game, November 4th. That gives you a target,
Perfect.
another target.
So after our meeting is adjourned, if you'll see Carlos, if you're willing to help with that, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, there's obviously our other big fundraiser for the year is the gala. And I know that there was a group that met over the summer to begin talking about the gala. And I don't know, Annette, or you were at that meeting.
I definitely was. What we had done is we had several venues that came up, and we were really looking for a venue that would allow the staff from the schools, from the administration, as well as from the communities to really come together, participate. And so what we landed on was one of the barns, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, I'll let Shannon jump in here.
Right, it's the expo halls at Freeman, I think it's Expo Hall A, which is fairly large and will easily accommodate what we typically say is 450, but again, our goal is to try to open that up, so I think that's the option that we have on the table, and we actually have them holding it for us right now. We haven't signed any contracts, but also giving us additional information on other costs, because we will get the nonprofit rate, which is important to us, because again, we want to try to keep as much money at home here in the district and not have to pay for things we don't have to, but having anything at Freeman, you're required to have medics and some other issues, and then we also have the parking issue, which we have to buy out, so.
And what date are they holding?
March 11th, I think is the date. Yes, March 11th, which is a Saturday.
And I know spring break is like right around.
Yes. Spring break.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we check to see if?
I can see what other dates they have. I think what we're trying to do is also work with the Spurs schedule as well, because if it's an evening, they have a game, it's just gonna be that much more for our folks to have to deal with. So what I can do is have them give us dates that are open for that Expo Hall A that are off, that are, where the Spurs aren't playing that evening, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Is the 11th the first weekend of spring break?
Okay. I will take that action
Thank you,
to get us some different dates.
Thank you, Shannon.
You bet.
And I know getting that information, we'll strive by next meeting to be able
Yes.
to, make the approval and
Right.
sign the contracts. And so
The sooner we get, I think that's the other big issue is just, fighting. And I think we also want to have, because there are other expo halls, we really kind of want to be one of the only, using that expo hall that evening. If there are other events at some of the other expo halls, it just makes it a little bit more, it's doable, but it just makes it a little bit more complex.
And I would offer, I know rodeo is certainly an issue every year, but I guess at this point, find out what dates are available
That's right.
regardless of the month.
Right.
January, February,
That's
March,
right.
whatever it is, and we're gonna have to choose one at this point, because we're on onset of Q4
Yes, we are.
this year, so.
very good. Thank you all for meeting and pulling information already and presenting that. Looking forward to change of venue, so thank you. Announcements, are there any other announcements we need to talk about?
I just had a quick question. I would like to know who's online.
Yes.
Just a matter of capturing attendance.
I'm sorry, I can't see that far.
We have,
So you have Maureen Dobler, Lori Barber, there's somebody with an unknown number, so I don't know who that is.
I
Or
think
two.
it's my sister Pam.
So yeah, so there's two that just have a number on there.
so Pam.
And
Lori,
Veronica Cervantes,
so-
I believe Veronica's from Select. So, and Maureen is from the high school, Lori's she's the principal at Legacy.
Well,
I
thank you.
have one of the phone numbers, Jackie
Oh,
Christensen.
Jackie. Just has a whole eight at the end. You wanna
Oh, Jackie.
So one,
oh, wait.
2, 3, 4, 5 people, that's it? Looks like it. Maureen, Pam, Monica, Gloria, and Jackie.
5 people, yes, ma'am.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Did you have a question prior to that? Yes.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
Any comments before we adjourn the meeting today? Yes, ma'am.
What price are we looking at for tables for the gala? Because I know, teachers are, a lot of the reason they wouldn't go before is because of the price. You know what I mean? So what are we looking at to try and incorporate more people, but what price are we looking at?
Last year, it was, 750 was the lowest, and we did hear that was pricey. What would you all believe or feel is a fair price for the teachers? I mean, I know it's tough.
How many seats are, if you say 750, is that, how many seats?
10.
So it's like that,
75. And maybe we need to look to see at least, okay, covering the expense of the meals and overhead from that perspective. But that's the one thing, we do want to make it to where it is affordable, and it's a very tough environment. We're completely understanding of that perspective. The other thing that we could consider, many times there are businesses that are willing to purchase a table and not always able to attend. So we may be able to put an option out there for businesses. Would you like to purchase a seat or a table for a teacher? And then that way campuses could say, raise your hand, people that would like to attend. I know that there have been some businesses that have said that in the past, that, gosh, please get that back to it.
Yeah, and we've tried to do that, but with attendees where let's say they have a table of 10 and they only have 4 people going, and say, okay, do you have any left? But it's been really difficult to get a response from them. It's always late in the game, and we can't get back to y'all and say, hey, we have 20 seats available. So I think what Ned says is if we can just say, look, you want to purchase it, and now we know we have 10 seats available no matter what, and then we can reach out to you to the schools.
So how does that look like for communicating to the district or to the, say like Heritage, right? So do they sign up for a scholarship or sponsorship? Probably better for sponsorship. I'm talking about the teachers. I mean, how does that,
Yeah,
how do you get that information to the teacher? Is there a waiting list?
Oh, there's a hand up behind you.
Yes.
Does she have an answer?
Oh, no, I'm gonna offer some feedback on sites.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
That's,
What I would think, would it be possible, and I'll be really transparent with you all, the tables did not sell until the very end. And so it is it's not like there's so much lead time.
Right.
So it may be as small as a month in advance to know, but what we could do is ask each campus, I mean, really posing this as a question to you, if we said, each campus, how many people do you have that want to attend? Because we don't want to make it an environment where you're voluntold, right? You have to attend. We want the support, we want the feedback.
So kind of leading towards, so I have a young lady that grew up in our youth group. Now it's not East Central District, but she's right out of college and she's Collier Elementary, right? So she started off, has very low income, I shouldn't say low income, that sounds bad, but lower income, couldn't afford to do something like that. We open that up to somebody like that, right? To incorporate them and make them part of that. So that's kind of where my focus is.
Sure.
And so maybe look at how much you could lower the price for them and then look at the sponsorship, maybe. Those are just thoughts.
Okay. Great, John, I mean.
Yeah, it's along the line of what you just said. You would have a value that the teachers thought, a table that they could afford, say it'd be $500. So if the minimum, the lowest table that we have is $750 and the teachers are willing to spend $5 as a group for 10, find a company or companies that would want to donate or underwrite the remaining $250, they would still be recognized for that table at $250 and they would get their name on that table, but they would also pick up the difference between what the teachers were willing to pay as a,
that kind of
that way
like
company would still get the benefit of donating the table for $250, they'd get their name on it, but then the teachers it would be a win-win for both. If you come up with a figure, that would be, to get more involvement for the teachers.
Certainly.
Brenda, if I could just add, what the high school has historically done, their PTSAs, we've purchased a table and then given it to teachers.
Okay.
So I introduced that at our PTA cadre because that's 11 campuses, that's, a little over 100 teachers, so it's just making a dent. But what we do is everybody, all the faculty that are members, we put their name in a hat. We didn't have much participation a couple years in a row, and then we got feedback because the teachers just didn't want to go alone. So then last year we did teacher plus ones, and we had no denials. Everybody who got picked out of the hat wanted to go, and our table was full. So that's something that at least the other PTA, and it's 11 campuses, that'd be 11 faculty. So that's another in addition to the other things you're discussing.
Certainly. And we all have a responsibility for getting individuals there that are going to donate, because ultimately the absolute goal is to raise funds for the foundation. But we want to have it's wonderful to have teachers there because they can really tell the story of where the money goes and how it's used and how instrumental and valuable it is to have the donations and the mini grants for that. So I think that's a great partnership.
I would limit that to only educators, those tables are only educators.
With the +1 though?
Yeah. As far as the tables that are being underwritten.
With the teachers?
Yes.
Okay.
The requirement would be for those tables that the people sitting there would have to be educators.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Gentleman Pat, you had a comment.
Oh, no, I also wanted to offer y'all some feedback on sites. This outward, you kind of thought.
Yes, I did some of the research.
If you would like, I will work with you on that.
Okay,
I'm really good at that.
Okay, wonderful.
Just feedback from over the years. We used to do it at the Floresville Event Center. I think for a lot of our folks, that was far. And we are geographically huge, yes. We did it in 2020, I believe, at the Texas Institute of Culture. That was beautiful, but it's packed. And then last year at A&M San Antonio.
It was the weather. It was the.
We received good feedback.
It was beautiful.
Wonderful.
It was beautiful. We had no backup.
There was no backup plan. Yeah.
It was there was a cover, a pavilion,
With
and
basketball
you had
court.
to walk so far.
I did not want to leave, actually.
No, it was beautiful. Our big fear. And I'm gonna be really honest, and I give it to Brandon and to Lisa. They used the Farmer's Almanac to pick the date, and my goodness gracious, it worked. It worked. I don't know.
Gotta remember too, though, how many times did we redecorate the table just because?
But that wind was really
The breeze
nice.
would come by and everybody. Yeah, redecorate.
It was nice to have the wind though in the beginning, because it was a little
It
warm.
was hot. We all got sunburned, but it
Yeah.
was. It ended up being.
It was
If
fabulous.
you would have seen us in the morning, it was like comedy capers.
Or
Thank
at
God.
Or at the end. Actually, the end
We
was
have a
worse.
photo at the end, we're all.
But
It was worse.
I think we really liked that venue, and I think it just had a lot of charm to it. And it was large, and the one thing I was concerned about was just the sound. Were folks in the back able to hear?
Sure.
But just a great venue, and really, I mean, great, very reasonable. But I think the risk person in me was like, if it rains, we looked at the backup, and it was just not much of a backup.
And we
It would've
talked
been
to, we
awful.
also spoke to Texas Pride. And now the feedback that we received in the meeting, that venue was not nice enough.
I would say that.
And so, that has a covered patio area, but we're trying to have the charm with some level of elegance to the extent that we can have.
As cost effective as possible.
And welcoming to all. Welcoming to all.
And naturally beautiful.
Yes, but definitely, I would love to visit with you and get your ideas of
Thank you.
what we're using that.
That's great. Good conversation and good planning for the year to come. So I'll just call any more comments or announcements before we adjourn our meeting today. Well, it is 11:21, and so hearing no additional comments, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all so very much.